What's going on, everybody? It's a 12 beers of Christmas, except we're talking about 2 meads and maybe a beer because they were slightly inspired or very much inspired by a beer. I'm here with Paul Fowler, Barry Salem. These guys made a mead kind of based after Great Lakes Christmas Ale because, full disclosure, last year I had visions of grandeur about having 12 home brews for the beers of Christmas, and these were the only guys that actually made something. And now the rest of the 12 beers are just kind of pro beers that we went and found. But I appreciate you guys. I love you both. Thanks for doing this. This is super cool. So let us talk about the Christmas mead that Paul and Barry made. Boop, boop. Merry Christmas.
Nick.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.
So just a quick reminder, Great Lakes Christmas Ale is I would call it kind of a red amber ale. It is graciously spiced with cinnamon and ginger and then honey at the end. So Paul and Barry, when you heard that checklist, what made you kind of move into the mead that you made?
Well, I think it all started with Barry sending me a request or invite to collaborate on a brew together. And since we already made a beer together once, brewed together, I was like, well, let's make a mead together. And I had the Great Lakes beer on my schedule to make, but I'm like, well, let's make a mead. Let's make a mead after this beer instead of the actual try to make the beer. And the constituents of that beer were, honey and cinnamon and ginger. So I'm like, well, let's make a ginger mead base and we'll spice it with cinnamon. And Barry had the idea, let's make a double batch and we'll do something else with the other half, which wound up being apple.
Yeah, I didn't add too much. I brought the honey. I got the apple idea, but most of this is Paul's little baby here. Of course, he's pretty good at making meads, and I learned a lot that day just kind of hanging out with him, and showed me quite a bit of tips and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to try and figure out how we could duplicate this. And when Paul came up with the mead idea, I was like, oh, that's perfect, because I'm a honey nut. I love honey on everything. I pretty much eat it all the time. So having meads that taste kind of like this beer was the absolute perfect idea. Definitely enjoying these two. This one here is the regular Christmas mead, and this one is the apple mead. And I do like the apple mead a little bit more because it balances out the ginger a little bit. But I'm kind of I like the ginger flavor too. So both of them are really good. It's just this one's just, it satisfies my sweet tooth a little bit more.
So let's talk a little bit about the process. Like, how does this ginger and cinnamon go into all of it and then the apple into half of it?
Well, we started with a ginger mead base. And there was enough ginger in there that we could have really used any honey. We used mesquite and then, what was it? A Brazilian pepper honey that I got from a friend of mine, Paul Johnson. But there's so much ginger in there, you really can't. You can get honey character, but you don't get like varietal honey character, really. I don't anyway. I mean, there's just so much. It's kind of like a fruit bomb mead where you can use any honey as a base, and then you're piling so much other stuff. Anyway, that's what the honey was. So we did a couple pounds of candied ginger in primary, and just for fun, we were like, well, let's throw a cinnamon stick in primary too. What the heck? So we did that, and we wound up fermenting that, and that was our base mead. I think we started about at 97 or so, and it got down to 102. So it was about 12.5%. And then after some clarifying and whatnot, I back sweetened it up to taste, and they were at about 1035 where I had them at. So that made them about 11%. And then the apples got put in secondary, so they're both fairly clear at this point, back sweetened. I put apple chips in the secondary of one, and the other one got more cinnamon sticks in secondary. The apple one actually got 6 points more from those chips. That's why it's sweeter, tastes sweeter.
What do you
6
mean?
points of
It
gravity.
went up and then fermented down, or it just went up and stayed up?
It went up, stayed up. It was back sweetened at 1035. And after I was done with the apple chips, racked it out of there, measured it again, it was 1041. That's what I'm
Okay, I
saying.
got you. So it
Up
pulled
6 points. Sugar.
Pulled a little
sugar from the apple chips.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think it 6 points of gravity off apple chips, but it did. Yeah, then after they got really nice and clear, I put them in kegs, and then I gave them more cinnamon because wasn't where I wanted it. So they're nice, brilliant clear at that point. Went into kegs, put cinnamon in each keg, and then I just had a little mini tapper on each one. And I would just check it every day or two. Just is it there yet? Oh, yeah, it's there. Pull out the cinnamon. And then from there, I went to bottling.
And ironically enough, you had never had Great Lakes Christmas Ale before making this mead, right?
So I wasn't aiming for the malt profile or any of that. I was just
Right.
going after those constituents. Yeah. So
I
yeah,
would
you were
say-
generous in the bottle.
Yeah. So what do you think of the beer versus the mead?
The beer's definitely got malt character. You know, that's incorporated. I thought the beer itself was very well balanced. It wasn't like over the top spicy or anything as maybe like some of these pumpkin ales can be. They're just like spice bombs.
So out of your two meads, I feel like the apple one kind of captures the essence of the beer a little bit. And it's kind of funny. I think the apple maybe mimics some of those maltier, just darker kind of notes. The ginger one is really good, but it is just extremely ginger beer, ginger
Yeah.
ale. Whereas the apple one kind of has this like even dark tinge to it. I wouldn't call it roasty at all, but just like a little bit of this like cooked character.
Those chips, they give me that kind of like caramely cooked apple character I was always kind of going after in a sizer where I never really got, because I kind of like that caramely cooked pie type flavor of apple, versus just biting into an apple. I prefer the more caramely side of things. And that definitely gave me what I was looking for versus just like throwing in some apple juice or something.
Barry, what did you learn in this process?
What didn't I learn? Basically, hanging out with Paul that day. And I came back to one more time to actually do the back sweetening part. But hanging out that day, he showed me a lot of different things that I probably wouldn't have done if I tried to make my own mead. All the additives, like the what is it, Fermade K, or what's it called? Yeah, all the nutrient additions and things like that I probably wouldn't have thought of, and stuff like that. I think the first time I tried to make a mead, I pretty much just I did none of those additions, and I just I think the first mead I ever made was the smoked mead, and I just basically smoked the honey and fermented it, and it turned out okay, but it was a little hot and it was a little dry. So I learned how to do the nutrient additions. I learned how to back sweeten. That was the second visit. When I came back, Paul laid out 5 different glasses with different additions of honey in each one, and I think one of them was the one we went with, which was like 1035 or something like that. And then he had one that was really, really low at like 1008, and then it just kind of gradually built up the scale. I really liked the one that was at 1028, which I think was the one just before the 1035, but we decided to go with the 1035. And I'm actually kind of happy we did, because again, that sugar kind of helps to balance out the ginger a little bit.
With the honey selection, though, you kind of made it sound like, I was just doing this thing, but that's actually a pretty unique honey selection, I would think. Yeah, something about it brings out a little like woody, almost kind of piney thing to me. So I feel like that's actually maybe a really good choice.
Which one are you getting the piney stuff from?
I'm drinking the regular Christmas non-apple.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
But in the regular one, I get ginger heat, a little bit of warm spice, and then a little bit of this kind of, I wouldn't call it pine full on, but just like this nice woody kind of flavor.
It could be from the cinnamon. All the cinnamon that went into it. It could be some of the woody. It's pretty heavy ginger.
Yeah.
Which is the way I like it, but it could be toned down,
Yeah.
a little bit. Because it's hard to get the cinnamon out of it. You can kind of get a little bit. I think you get more when it's colder on this mead. That's why Denise liked it so much for cold and carbonated, I think. Because it tones down the ginger.
I took these meads to my beer club a couple weeks ago, and I had everybody taste them. And a lot of the people, they really liked it, but everybody there was like, man, this is a ginger bomb, because they're not used to ginger. And so if you're not used to it, it's like eating a pepper, it's like, if you're not used to the heat, it's going to burn like crazy. But if you're used to it, it doesn't bother me as much, but for everybody else there, it was like, yeah, this is really tasty, but boy, the ginger is really coming through. And I told them what the process was, and they were happy to hear about it. But at the same time, yeah, if you're not a big ginger fan, yeah, you may find this a little hard to drink. But for me, yeah, I've got bottles downstairs, and every one of them is going to be gold. And when I bring out one to drink, it's like a special occasion. So, like tonight.
So, do you like one more than the other?
I like the apple more than the regular.
Yeah.
There's just more going on here. So, like I said, the apple, I think, balances out the ginger, but I think the main reason why that's happening is because this added 6 more points of gravity. So it's sweeter. It's definitely sweeter. And I think that sweetness covers up that ginger a little bit. Takes a little bit of the heat away.
First thing when we first tried it, Barry, I was like, I'm making this one again. The apple version.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were sitting in your backyard, just blown away by the apple one. Oh, I could drink a few of these. I was
like, I'm probably going to make it on a session level. Make it about 6%. Have it on tap.
I appreciate y'all, man. That was super fun.
Bye.
Great meads, man. Great meads.
Yeah, really good. Congratulations, Paul, for making some wonderful meads.
Appreciate it. This was awesome. Merry Christmas.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Good seeing you guys, and hope to make it out again soon. We'll hang out in person.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.